Welcome back to Green is the New Black, a podcast by Oikos Lisbon, a student club at Nova SBE focused on sustainability and creating a positive impact. My name is Maria, and today I'll be your host for this episode. So, after graduating from a master's in physics engineering at Nova FCT here in Lisbon, our guests start working in this field, in the technological field, but for then leveraging her experience to bring meaningful environmental change to organizations. Since then, she's been promoting sustainability, diversity, and inclusion, advocating for a just transition in the face of climate change. As a woman with a professional background and close relationship with tech, she's also been passionate about empowering other women in STEM, equipping them with to thrive in a technology-driven world. Today, she's a sustainability manager at Siemens, based in Erlangen. I think that's how you say it, in Germany, where she is today joining us from to share her story with us. So, welcome, Matilde, and thank you for being here and accepting our invitation to share your story.
Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so then just to start, tell us a little bit about your story and about your journey. So how did you went from studying physics engineering to now working in sustainability and being sustainability manager at Siemens?
Yeah, that's quite the story. I would say that growing up, I mean, sustainability, the environment, it was always an important topic. It was always there. I remember being 7 years old and watching the news and the journalists talking about the hole in the ozone layer and being really shocked by it. Like, why are we not doing something about it? And that really stuck with me. And I was also very lucky to grow up in a family and in a community where people were really caring about the environment and all the creatures living in the planet. So that always grew with me. But I'd never thought of it from a career perspective. And so I was really passionate about science. I thought physics would be a great place to go and study, and physics engineering. I thought this would give me a better chance in the job market
Mm-hmm.
in Portugal. So I studied physics engineering in FCT, as you mentioned. And then I had this opportunity to start at Microsoft, and being involved in the sustainability community there really made me rethink that I want to have more impact in my career. If we spend so much time at work, I really wanted it to be something that it could be more meaningful. And so hence this transition here to Siemens.
Okay, that's nice. I mean, you really managed to combine maybe those both worlds and now to create an impact. And how do you feel maybe that this experience at Microsoft shaped your approach to sustainability and influenced your career, like working at the Microsoft as a company?
Yes, it was quite a big influence to first, realize the impact of these big companies. I mean, at the time it was over 200,000 employees. So of course, the technology that you create, the people that work for you, there's a big potential here for impact. So that definitely shaped how I saw the world, how I realized the impact that companies have, and also working in close collaboration with government entities that all end up all ends up happening, and realizing that okay, it's nice to promote individual action. I still think individual action is very important, but it's not enough to create the change that we need. So it's really this triangle, let's say, of people and organizations and governments working together to bring this transition. So this really, for me, in my mind, it's where I had a lot of learnings in this topic. But then, also knowing so many people passionate about this topic of sustainability at work and seeing the change that these employee communities can bring, that really shaped how I saw it and how I saw the possibility of also having a career in the topic.
And what is an employee community? Can you explain a little bit more and how did you get to it at Microsoft?
Yeah, so Microsoft has different, and I think this is the same in different companies. There's these employee resource groups, however you want to call it. So they can focus on different topics like a women topic or families, etc. And at Microsoft, shortly after I joined, I realized there was a global community focused on sustainability, the worldwide sustainability community. And then I got together with a colleague, Clara Mancilia, and we started seeing some, some little things that were bothering us that we thought we could be doing better. And we spoke with them, and basically they said, "Oh, start your own chapter. We don't have a chapter in Portugal. You are now the managers. Go ahead and start it." So that was very interesting timing. So okay, let's try to take it. And we were very lucky because we also had a sponsor, our CFO at the time, Rita Pissarre, and she was really also focused on these topics, and she really empowered us. Okay, let's take it. Let's try to make Microsoft Portugal a place that's more sustainable, and let's try to bring together people that are very passionate about this topic. And so it grew from the first year we joined. I think we had at the end of the year 1,000 people, and by the time I left in 2023, maybe close to 10,000 all
Mm-hmm.
over the world, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our own chapter in Portugal, and then all over the world. And if at the beginning it was very focused on smaller actions, smaller local actions, at the end we really had a strategy where we wanted to empower the colleagues, so provide them knowledge, get them activated at the end, also to create their own action.
Okay, that's super interesting. It's more or less like oikos here at Nova because it's also a Lisbon chapter of an international uh, students and not only students, like an international big organization of people driven by sustainability. So it's nice to know that you can also continue that kind of impact and experience throughout your professional journey in your companies and your jobs. That's very interesting. So. Okay, so now you are now working at Siemens after, and that was your next step after Microsoft, right? You spent there quite a few years, and then you accepted this new chapter. And there is a quote of the president of Siemens, Dr. Roland Busch, that says technology is the most powerful tool humanity has to build a more sustainable future. How does technology drive sustainability? What is your vision on this?
Yeah, it is a nice quote. It is really a big driver, and I like to think on it from two points of views. The first point of view is thinking about science and technology from the perspective of allowing us to have a better understanding of the world we live in. So having all this data about the planetary boundaries, about what is going on, what the real problem is, with facts and figures. So there is one point. And then the other point is, okay, and now it allows us to act on it. So technology really is an enabler to become a more sustainable, And I think people maybe think about, oh, there will be a magical technology solution that will come and fix all these climate related problems for us. And I would say that we already have a lot of the solutions available to us.
Mhm.
They're not easy. They're not easy to implement. It's not an easy path, but in a way, we know more or less what needs to be done, the path that we need to take. So I see technology very focused on helping us optimize resources, optimize what we already have available for us, making the better choices for a more sustainable living for all of us. So definitely, yes, an enabler for sustainability, but has to be taken in that direction.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like sometimes people tend to look at technology as a solution or the solution to problems. It will be the solution, but maybe yet looking at it as an enabler, we already have a lot of tools and it's working it in the right direction, as you were saying. Okay, so and what does your role as a sustainability manager at Siemens entail? What are your key responsibilities, challenges?
Yeah, so I am a sustainability manager for one of the business units at Siemens, working in the area of smart infrastructure, um, uh, electrification, automation. And so my role is to, on one hand, coordinate this framework that we have at Siemens. It's our own framework for ESG, so environmental, social, and governance. It's our degree
Mhm,
framework. So focusing on topics like decarbonization, ethics, governance, resource efficiency, equity, employability. So how can we can translate these goals into our business unit, ensure that we can meet all these goals that we have set for ourselves. And on the other hand, very focused on regulatory compliance. So we have a lot of regulations coming from not only the EU, but also, and so how can we ensure that we are complying with these regulations, but also setting ourselves, a higher standard. So this
mhm.
is the bulk of the work, I would say, in a simple way.
Okay, yeah, it seems like a lot of things. And I was just thinking that maybe you introduced yourself, but maybe it was not clear because I also didn't, I skipped this question. How did you make the transition? Uh, I mean, I know about your passion about sustainability, but in work-wise, like professional-wise, how did you start working in sustainability? You had to have some, you went to get some how do you say education, or it was
Mhm.
something with the company? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was all very starting from the sustainability community, right? So it was always, let's say, a volunteering role within the company on the side of my everyday normal day job. So my normal day job as customer engineer, support engineer, consultant was never very sustainability focused. So there were a couple of projects here and there, but that was not what I was doing every day. So the community really helped me first learn a lot more, and then develop this passion, and then come to the conclusion that, oh, I would really like to pursue a job that was full-time a sustainability job. And I really believe that every job can be a sustainable job. So everything that we all do, we should have this in mind. We should have, how can I be more efficient with the resources that I'm using? How can we do this in a way that is having a positive contribution?
Mhm,
So there was, okay, that's where the spark started. And then I started, okay, looking internally for roles and for positions, and networking with colleagues, trying to understand what skills I would need to make this transition, doing shadowing, chipping in different projects. And like you mentioned, also the education part, because,
mhm,
okay, I learned a lot as a physics engineer, but not necessarily very focused to the challenges that we are trying to solve. So then, yes, I searched for some on the side, some courses. Some of them were provided by Microsoft. I was very fortunate in that way. Some of them were sponsored. Some of them I did them on my own time and resources. And yeah, and then I was just looking for opportunities where I could do this full time, and this is how I found the role at Siemens, and yeah, was very lucky to get this opportunity.
mhm. Okay, yeah, nice to know. Yeah, that it really started as a passion, so and has a will of your side to get involved, and then yeah, but we all can do our part, and sometimes like our passions and our drive pays off because then you decided that was the role maybe you were feeling more connected with and you wanted to pursue. Okay, so that's nice. And talking a little bit more about Siemens again. So Siemens, a very big company, right? And it's committed to reaching a net zero CO2 emissions across its value chain by 2050, like many companies also nowadays do. Not only mainly because of regulations as well, but I want to think because it's the path to the future. And what do you think are the biggest hurdles to achieving these goals, today? And how is Siemens tackling them and going towards this goal?
Yeah, so you are right. Siemens has very big commitments when it comes to these decarbonization targets across the value chain. And yes, there are a lot of challenges, as you mentioned. So it's all about we are working with our suppliers. So making sure that we have a holistic supply chain practices with our suppliers. We have a method that we focus on prevention and detection and response with the suppliers. So we have programs where we analyze, have some assessments with our suppliers, and then we have also on-site audits with them. So making sure that we are having these practices throughout our supply chain, and also focusing on, okay, where can we get more green materials, for example. That is one challenge. Also looking into if we can improve the design of our products, then throughout the supply chain, this can also get more improvements. So it is a challenge, and yes, so these are some of the steps that we are taking to reach this big goal that Siemens has.
Okay, nice. And also, in this path of reaching decarbonization, and with some big milestones approaching, such as 2030 and 2050, which are milestones for some sustainability goals and other goals for companies and regulators. The pressures on business to find ways to reduce the carbon footprint is growing, as you said. And one of the most used solution is carbon markets. Nowadays, I feel like we've been hearing a lot about carbon markets, and Siemens is committed to use high quality carbon credits as part of its net zero strategy. So how does Siemens ensure the credibility and effectiveness of these carbon credits? And if you can explain a little bit more what, maybe for our listeners, what a carbon credit is and how it can be used, and and about what is a high quality carbon credit, what can we expect when we hear this term?
Right. So this is a topic that I am not very in the depth with, so I don't want to translate
Okay.
provide any information that might not be very accurate. What is
Mhm,
important to say is that these carbon credits, they are the last mile for us. This
mhm,
is not where we are focused on right now. And in my everyday job, this is also not where we are focused. We really want to reduce the emissions to as much as possible. And then also according to the SBTI, the science-based targets, only the last 10%, I believe, we would then go and procure such a strategy
mhm,
to come to our goal. But our primary focus and where we are putting all of the efforts is what can we do first and foremost in our own operations throughout to really reduce the carbon emissions. And
mhm,
then, yes, there is very high quality criteria. We're very, very picky with, okay, what are we then going to choose for this last mile offset? And my understanding is that we are using the Oxford offsetting principles
mhm,
to do so. So I know we are very picky and very strict with that, but that is not our focus, and that
mhm,
should not be the main focus of companies, right? There is a lot of work that we can all do. That it's okay, there's some things we cannot do. It's just in the nature of the business. We cannot get to maybe zero. Maybe not all industries can get to zero just like that, but this is what I would like to emphasize.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the credits sometimes are a way of companies to reaching goals. faster or in other ways. And I maybe focusing on the strategy will take longer to reach those goals, but it's a more it's the way to sustainability really, and to a future of a more green future in the company. So yeah, I totally understand. And I think but also emphasizing that it's high quality, it shows how picky you are and how you were saying, and how committed you are to making this like just not the solution, but a last like something that if you use it, when you use it, it's high quality. So you can ensure that that strategy. Okay, so now moving a little bit from the sustainability, you are also an advocate for women in STEM, so working in science, technology, engineering, and mathematical fields. How can you tell us a little bit more about that, and maybe your involvement in some projects like the Do It Girls and engineers for one day? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. This Do It Girls, it's a Microsoft program, and I think a lot how it changed not just my career, but maybe the trajectory of my life. So I
Oh.
was very lucky to grow in a family, in a school context where I never felt discriminated for being a girl, for being a woman. So I never
Mhm.
felt like, oh, you cannot be an engineer because you're a woman or anything like that. But of course, I am aware of the biases, and especially when you study in an engineering school and you see the amount of women versus men studying in these fields, this comes across very obvious. So, I studied physics engineering. I was finishing my course and I thought maybe I would work in academia, maybe I would work in research and development. And there was, this one day go to Microsoft and go to this event. Which I randomly went to. And this really was an eye opener for me because I didn't think that, oh, I don't know how to code. Why would I be able to work at a tech company? So this was really kind of breaking your limiting beliefs in yourself. Like, oh, okay, maybe I can do it.
Mhm.
And so I applied, and this is how my story started with my career at Microsoft. And yes, I think there's really a lot of lack of these conversations about careers, not just for women, but I think in general, at least growing up, I didn't really have this in high school. You have to decide what you're going to study for the next 3 to 5 years, but you don't have a feeling for the real world, for what is available. And I think in Portugal, we have a mindset that I would say now that it's quite open. Maybe I was lucky, but this was my context. But this is not the case in all society. So just understanding that you don't have to be limited in what you can do in your career.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. And how do you see that the role, sorry, of diversity and gender equality in fields like sustainability and technology? How do you feel? How important is it?
Very, very, very important, and not just in tech and sustainability, but across the board, especially when it comes to sustainability, we have lots of big challenges ahead of us.
Mhm.
And we live luckily in a planet that is very diverse. And
Mhm.
this is a wonderful thing, but it also means that you need all of these diverse perspectives to have a seat at the table to come with a solution. Because when you only have a group designing a solution, it's unlikely that that solution is going to fit most people. So I think this is natural. We need all perspectives, we need diversity to be really, truly successful.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, I agree. I think it's true. And so, with this, what advice would you give to business students and all our listeners in general, but this is our main focus, uh, and future leaders as well, to contribute to a more sustainable corporate world?
Right. I would say never stop learning. I think now more than ever, we really need to keep learning, to keep understanding the world that's evolving in such a fast way around us. But at the same time, follow the science, follow the facts, follow the data. This is very important because otherwise, you can get lost in all of the noise. And finally, your network is your net worth, and this also plays a role in sustainability because we all have a sphere of influence where we can have a positive impact, and of course we can always expand our sphere of influence. And if we can do this for the right reasons, for the right cause, I think this is the way to go.
Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, thank you. And last but not least, I would like to ask you, where can our listeners follow your work or get to know a little bit more about your path? You
So
want
I
to?
am, yeah, I'm just on LinkedIn. I'm not on other
Yes.
social media, but you can find me Matilde Alves, or just search for Matilde Alves on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll make sure to also leave that on the description of the podcast so people can get to know you better and also follow your path and maybe even connecting with you if they want.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so, yeah, okay. So Matilde, I think this was it. Thank you so much for being here for our conversation. I think it was very enlightening to listen to some of your career insights and about your role in sustainability. And yeah, and also I want to say to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Matilde, and I'll be back on the next episode of The Green is the New Black. Thank you.
Thank you.